Hello everyone, we're back. I'm Richard and this is
Maelle.
And today we are going to be tackling all things bread. We're going to make a basic bread dough which we can use for a number of things, but it can be used for anything which is bread based. What we're going to end up with today is focaccia. We're going to make some pizzas and we're also going to make some little bowls made of bread so that we can put some salads in. Okay, the ingredients in front of us. We have in the bowl 500 grams of strong flour. And in that, when I say strong flour, there are three delineations. There are all-purpose plain flour, there is strong bread flour and extra strong bread flour, and we've gone for the middle one, just plain strong flour. In the jug, we have got 350 mils of cold water, not warm, just cold water straight out of the tap. And in the bowls here, we have 10 grams of salt, we have some fresh yeast, and we have some dried yeast. I know sometimes some people have a problem getting hold of fresh yeast. Dried yeast will work just as well. So for today's exercise, we're actually going to be using dried yeast. In terms of recipe, the amount that you use doesn't really matter that much because it reproduces itself during the period of fermentation, which we'll talk about a bit later on. If you put less, you just have to leave it for a little bit longer, and the more you put in, the less time that it takes. But your dough will not be quite as good, but we'll talk about that as we go. Okay, do you want to start us off then, please?
Okay.
So, the first part of the process, to make it easier, we're going to mix the flour and the water together, just mix it, not knead it, and then we're going to leave that to soak for a minimum of half an hour, and this is called an autolyse. Two things happen. One is the dough becomes easier to work afterwards, it takes less effort, and we also end up with a better quality dough. So, do you want to go for it?
Yeah.
Rock and roll. Okay, so a good idea to hold the bowl with one hand, so you only get one dirty hand then. No, just straight in. And it's just about mixing all of the ingredients together and picking up any pockets of dry flour. You can do this with a KitchenAid or a Kenwood.
Okay.
Right, or a small hand mixer with the swirly spiral things on the end.
Okay.
Right. Or if you haven't got one of those, you can do it in a bread maker, but just on the mixing function. But I'm old-fashioned, I like to do it by hand. I like to get my hands dirty.
Yeah.
What we're going to do now is we're going to put a cover over this of a wet or a damp cloth, and we're going to leave it at room temperature for half an hour or more. Okay, we can leave it up to a couple of hours if we want to, but anything longer than that, then it's probably a good idea to put it into the fridge. Well, we keep the wet cloth over the top to stop it from drying.
So is it just wet with water?
Just wet with water,
And
room
it's
temperature.
soaked up and you just put it on top?
Absolutely, because it stops the dough from, the top surface of the dough from crusting and drying.
Okay.
All right, good. Okay, so now this is our Autolyse mix, our flour and water mix now after an hour or so, and you can see how completely different it is.
Yeah.
So the next stage is we're going to mix our yeast and salt into it, but we're going to mix them separately because the salt and the yeast don't get on particularly well with each other, because salt in high levels of concentration will kill the yeast. We've got fresh yeast there as well, but we're not going to use that today because I know some people have a problem getting hold of it. So we're going to stick with the dried because it works just as well.
Okay.
Okay, good. So we're going to put the salt into the dough first of all. So if you empty that in, and then just stir it around with one hand, right? Marvellous. How does that feel? Different from last time?
It feels really stretchy now.
It will do. All right. So just mix the salt in a little bit.
Yeah.
Right, now if you want to pour the yeast over the top, the dried yeast.
So always mix the salt before so that...
Yes. Right, so that
they don't get along.
they don't get along with each other, yes.
Okay. I do this.
Lovely.
with the dried yeast.
Okay, and I'll take those out of your way. I think you're getting ready now so that we can turn that out of the bowl and we can knead it on the surface. So with your scraper.
Is this plastic scraper or
a rubber spatula,
okay.
right? Just to help you scrape the bowl out, leaving as little as possible. And you can see it comes out quite easily, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There we go. Right, we'll keep the bowl. So, what I want you to do is put one hand like this over the top and just do this to it, right? And press it down. And that's all that you have to do. And you should see that it's already getting smooth.
Yeah.
And it won't get less sticky, it will get more sticky. And because the dough is quite a wet one, because we put quite a lot of water into it, and we've soaked it, it makes it much easier to knead. You end up with a better quality dough. Right, well I think you're just about there now, and that's all that you need to do to it. So now we need to scrape it back into the bowl. And if you use your scraper there, that's right. And so you can just lift it into the bowl. Lovely. So we're now going to get to the most important part, which is in fact for us doing nothing. We need to be patient and we need to leave it. Ideally, we want to ferment that at around about 26 degrees for 4 hours.
So would that be room temperature?
Room temperature plus a little bit. So a warm sunny corner is good. But at the same time, if you can leave it for longer, if the room is cooler, that is better. And if you want to, you can do this bit and you can leave it in the fridge overnight.
Okay, and what does that?
It just means that you can do your preparation the day before, not worry about it. And when you come back to it the next day, when you need to use it, it'll be just about perfect.
Okay.
All right, good. So when we do that, we're going to put a wet cloth over the top. And I've just got one over here.
So again, the wet cloth.
Wet cloth, again, to stop it from crusting. And if you are going to leave it in the fridge overnight, a layer of cling film is a good idea as well to stop it from drying, because the fridge tends to be quite dry.
Yeah.
Okay?
Cool.
Good. So we're going to leave that and then we will come back when it's ready and we're ready to start making some things with dough.
Okay.
Rock and roll. 4 hours later, here is our dough. The finished effect, or the final stage, is dependent upon temperature, and the cooler it is, the longer you will have to leave it. So if you leave it in the fridge, it's going to be an overnight job. But the thing to look for, if we take the cling film off the top, and I have oiled the cling film so it doesn't stick.
So you put oil on the cling?
Absolutely, so the cling film doesn't stick, and I oiled the bowl a little bit as well. You can see how light and fluffy and bubbly that is, and that is just perfect for what we want, and you can see all the gas bubbles in the top. And when we turn it out, you will be able to smell the fermentation, and it will smell absolutely wonderful.
Okay.
Okay, so are you going to do the job? Do the business? Right. So if you just clear the edge a little bit, that's right, and you can see
how easily.
Yeah, it comes away, yes. And try and disturb it as little as you can, because we want to keep all that lovely gas inside. Lovely. And then just turn your bowl over, and it should just follow then. It's quite elastic, isn't it?
Yeah. Should I turn it over? Yeah. All the way.
Yep. Lovely. So, okay, just ease it out. There we go. Marvellous.
Do we keep this? Yeah, so it's been oiled, you can see.
Yeah, you can see it. So it just comes out of the bowl nicely. There we are. Lovely. And look at that. No, have a smell. No?
No? No, because you're going to put my head in it.
No, I wouldn't dream of doing something like that. No, I'm not like that at all.
Do you want to try smelling it?
No, because I can smell it from here, thank you. So we're ready to go to the next stage now of making focaccia, pizzas and salad bowls.